It's a memory that haunts the Orlando Magic. Last season's first-round playoff elimination by the Pacers. Indiana Pacers have defeated the Orlando Magic. For nearly a year, the Magic have tried to forget that debacle, but at the same time drawing motivation from it. Shaquille O'Neal was reminded that even dominant players are often judged by their playoff success. Anthony Hardaway's brilliant rookie year was overshadowed by its sudden conclusion. And Horace Grant now finds himself in Orlando, hoping to change their postseason misfortunes. Now, with the playoffs barely a week away, the Magic are seeking the momentum that is so crucial for the task ahead, erasing the nightmare of a year ago.
Is the NBA on NBC. Today, it's the Orlando Magic versus the Miami Heat.
A capacity crowd, better than 15,000 turning out of the Miami Arena for the Magic and the Heat. Orlando coming in at 55-22. They lead the Eastern Conference, but they're now 3 games in front of the Knicks, who have been coming on, while Orlando has lost 3 of its last 4 games. In the race for the 8th and final playoff spot of the East, Miami is still alive, but barely breathing. They trail Boston by 3 games, and they are 1 behind Milwaukee. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert along with Mac Dukas, and as we discussed earlier on Showtime, Orlando's struggling as of late, having their problems, particularly on the road. They've had some injury difficulties, but they are delighted that their all-star point guard Anthony Hardaway is back in the lineup after missing 4 games with an inflammation of the esophagus, and he comes off a career-high performance with 19 assists.
And he's almost back to full strength, and he makes a gigantic difference. Penny Hardaway is having an all-pro season. That's 6 more points a game, better than 50% from the field, a significant improvement over last year. And Marv, whatever has been ailing the Magic of late, the presence of a healthy Penny Hardaway will fix it.
And for Miami, it's been a very disappointing season. A revamped lineup, a new coach. They've been hearing all kinds of bad reaction, boos from the home crowd. But despite all this, Glenn Rice having his finest season in the NBA, and he is clearly the major concern of the Orlando Magic.
And to show you how disappointing, one of the few highlights for the Heat was Glenn Rice winning the three-point contest at All-Star Weekend. But Glenn Rice is putting up outstanding numbers, and he is starting to augment his game by driving more and posting up. But if the Heat are to have any chance at all today of knocking off an angry Orlando Magic team, Glenn Rice will have to have a huge game.
And both the Magic and the Heat affected by a series of injuries. For more on that, let's go to the Dean of Sideline Reporting. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Mark. For the Miami Heat, Bimbo Coles is still on injury reserve with that strained hamstring, and Harold Miner will not play today because of a strained wrist. Now, the big surprise comes for the Orlando Magic when they found out just today that Nick Anderson had been cleared by his doctors yesterday. He arrived this morning, and he will start. There is one other fellow on the Orlando Magic that's under the heat and under the weather, and that is Brian Hill, who has been suffering with the flu, and hopefully that will not affect his decision-making. Mark?
All right, Ahmad, and when we come back, it'll be the start of our NBA Marathon Weekend here on NBC. It gets underway with Orlando and Miami.
Is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. By ITT, for 75 years, the one to follow. And by Fisher Nuts. It's Fisher flavor, or it's just plain nuts.
Well, it is a beautiful 86-degree day in the Miami area. Fourth and final regular season game coming up between Miami and Orlando. Orlando has won the previous three. A look at the Magic starting lineup in the backcourt. Anthony Hardaway, Nick Anderson, who, as we mentioned, is returning following the concussion injury suffered last week in the game against Detroit, missed 4 games. Shaquille O'Neal, Donald Royal, and Horace Grant on the front line. And the Orlando Magic, coached by the flu-ridden Brian Hill in his second year as head man of the Magic. A look at the Miami Heat, who over the last 14 games have split at 7 up and 7 down. The rookie out of Arizona, Khalid Reeves, in the backcourt with Billy Owens, 6'9", big guard position being played by Owens. John Sally up front with Kevin Willis and Glenn Rice. And the Miami Heat now being coached by 39-year-old Alvin Gentry, who took over from Kevin Lowry back in mid-February. Lowry now Miami's director of player personnel. Alvin Gentry had never been a head coach on the high school or college level. He's been an assistant at Miami the past 4 years and was an assistant at San Antonio under Larry Brown and with the Los Angeles Clippers under Mike Schuler. And since Gentry has taken over, this game number 32 for Gentry at the helm, Miami has gone 13-18.
Alvin was telling me yesterday how important he feels for his team to control the tempo, not let the Orlando Magic get out and run, which they have done in the 3 previous easy wins against the Miami Heat. The problem with controlling the tempo is the Heat play their best when they get out and run, so they still have to look for fast break opportunities, but then when they don't have it, slow down in the half court and get a good shot, and that's something they've been very poor at all season long with their half-court execution.
The official, Jack Neese, Bernie Fryer, Ted Bernhardt. And it will be Ted Bernhardt throwing it up between Kevin Willis and Shaquille O'Neal. Thursday night here in Miami, the Heat beat the Cavaliers 85-84 after trailing by 15 points at the start of the fourth quarter. The Heat did it with their bench. Alvin Gentry dissatisfied with the play of 3 of his starters and made changes. And the Miami Heat hearing the boos throughout that contest, although they came from behind to win. The steal by Owens, finding Rice.
Well, that's what I'm talking about for the Miami Heat. When they get that opportunity off a steal like that, nice defensive play by Billy Owens, and not a real good pass, but Glenn Rice did an outstanding job catching that ball and finishing.
Shaquille O'Neal on the follow, not able to stop. Here's Horace Grant, and he has tied the game at 2. Orlando coming off a loss to the Boston Celtics in Boston on Thursday night, although the Magic shot 61% from the field. That's an illegal defense called for the first time.
Well, Billy Owens with the alert, quick hands, has his head down, but able to see Glenn Rice going in on that left side. That pass was actually behind, but Glenn Rice did a nice job of gathering it in and finishing on that play, as this is how the Miami Heat have to play. They have to get out and run. Otherwise, they have a very difficult time scoring.
And Rice is fouled by Royal. What a strange game between Orlando and Boston on Thursday. Orlando shoots 61%, but at the foul line, 11 of 23. Shaquille was 2 for 11, and Boston just killed the Magic off the boards. Kevin Willis not able to hit, and Nick Anderson, who's making his return here this afternoon, able to handle it off the boards. Hardaway played by Reeves, finding O'Neal.
Well, not enough pressure